What do you do when every corner of your life is filled with distress and turmoil? Who do you turn to? How do you navigate through depression? Today I'm joined by a special lady, Khanyisa. Welcome to Yana Conversations.
Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure and a blessing to have you here. It's so amazing how I actually got to hear about you. You know, when God really wants people to come on, he brings them on like one way or another. Mm-hmm. You know, somebody actually texted me and they said, do you know about this lady Khanyisa? I'm like, no, I've never heard of Khanyisa. She's like, Mlaro, this is your girl. You need to hear her story. You need to talk to her. And she sent me a few pages actually of your book. So she's actually written a book called Restored. So this is a book. You'll tell us more about it at the end and tell, the viewers where to get it. Okay. But she said to me, you need to talk to her. And at that time, I was praying about who do I bring onto the channel? Wow. And you know what? God brought you. And I believe that this moment here is really ordained by God. So such a blessing to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's really a blessing to be here.
Okay, so just to, let our viewers know more about you, tell us who you are, where you come from, before we get into the reason why we're actually sitting here today.
Okay, my name is Khanyisa Baloi. Come from Anamulele, but I'm based in Polokwane. Corporately, I'm a quantity surveying assistant and an administrator to a CEO.
Okay.
I'm also a radio coordinator.
Awesome.
It's called a radio contributor.
Okay.
And then on the other side, I run some kind of organizations for healing and restoring young women after brutal torture.
What is the organization called?
It's called Women You More Than Enough. Mm-hmm. And the other one is called Queens.org.
Wow.
That is where we restore your dignity after brutal torture.
What inspired the two organizations?
It has to be my life. My life, it's because everything that happened around me, it's all about restoration. Restoring somebody's dignity after you've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Because after you've went through a lot, you need somebody else to come and restore what you have lost.
Yeah.
If there is no one around you, you are likely to fail or you're likely to just fall into depression or something else. So you need somebody to hold your hand. I didn't have much, many people to hold my hand. But then since I made it, I need to hold somebody's hand and then lead them forward.
Yeah. I guess it will all make sense when we go deeper into your story. I think it will actually make sense why you started these two organizations that you have. So like I said, you've got a book and, I read the titles that you've got in your book and, chapter 1 talks about Daddy, he took my virginity. And I believe this is you talking to God, right?
Yes. It's me talking to God after I got raped when I was in my grade 12, a day before I was writing my biology examination. Sure. I was raped by my psychologist. The thing is, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mother at that moment. So there was no one to talk to when it happened. So it happened and I wanted to just take it in because now I'm finishing my grade 12. I want to go away from the family because I just felt like I did not belong, though they are biologically my parents.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I had to hold it in because the next day I had examinations to do.
Okay, so let's just take it a few steps back. Mm-hmm. So you get raped when you're doing your grade 12 and by your psychologist.
Yes, by my psychologist.
And why were you seeing a psychologist?
I was trying to fix the relationship between my mother and my sister because I felt like I was at fault. There was nothing that I was doing that was right, according to them. I was always in trouble with something. I remember the other day I got bitten for going home early because I wanted to write my homework and to wash my uniform, and it was my cousin's wedding.
Yeah.
So my mother came back and she did beat me up for that, saying that I was running after boys, and that was not the case. I was just going home to finish up what I was supposed to do, but then there was nothing I could do at that moment. So because I wanted to leave the house and go somewhere far where I can restore my life. So when the incident happened, I believe he took advantage of it because he knew that no one was closer to me.
Yeah.
Even if I have to tell my mother that this happened, she wouldn't believe me because at her, the way she was thinking, I was after boys. And my sister would always put me in trouble with whatever she could think of.
So you had a bad relationship with your mother and also your sister?
Yes, I did.
So did something happen between you and your mother and your sister, to bring the bad relationship that you had with them?
Nothing happened. I just believe that I was a different child.
Okay.
She raised 4 children that were very quiet, and then I came out to be this loud and this bubbly child, always inquiring, and I happened to have a different gift compared to the others.
Okay.
So probably she thought I was out of order somehow. That is the only word I can find.
Yeah.
Maybe she found that she couldn't deal with me because I had too much to ask.
Yeah.
I was such a talkative child compared to the others that she has raised. So nothing really happened. I grew up and I found it like that.
Yeah. Sure, that's a difficult situation to grow in. Hey,
because it's not healthy.
Every girl wants her mother, and if you can't have that comfort and love, I don't know if I must call it love, but if you can't have that intimate and close relationship for your mother, then it makes life very much difficult.
It was. That's why I decided to see a psychologist, because I thought there was something wrong with me.
Okay.
So that's where I ended up being raped, because when you see a psychologist, you want to pour out everything. You don't hide anything. So he found loopholes to say, if I have to do something to her, her parents won't believe her because she's even trying to work on her relationship.
Yeah.
Even the teachers at school knew that my mother and I were not into good terms, and I was trying so hard.
Yeah.
It even affected me academically, because I started dropping in my academics because it was bothering me a lot. Every time I had to go home, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what story is going to be told today about me. What are they going to say? Am I going to get home to a lovely family? Are they going to be smiling at me? Or is just going to be any other day where I just walked in and somebody's accusing me of doing something?
So take us through the day you got raped.
The day I got raped. What happened was I was busy with my friends, Zolani and Flo. We were busy studying with the other ladies. And he usually come around. You know, when you build a relationship with a psychologist, sometimes when he's passing through the town, he would say, I'm around, can I see you? And I allowed it because it's somebody I trusted. So he came around and said, let's go somewhere. I want to buy you juice, or I bought you a pencil case. At that moment, for me to receive a gift, it was something valuable because I never received anything. So when he did that, he was closing the gap inside of me, and I'm like, it's fine. Then we went and said, we had juice, we talked, and he said, let me take you back. Gave me my pencil case. I was very excited. It was very beautiful.
Yeah. And you had left your friends that you were with.
I had left my friends, and they trusted him because he had never done anything harmful before.
Yeah.
So when we were driving through, I saw that he's changing the route. And then I asked him, why are you changing the route? He's like, I want to show you something. Okay, I started being uncomfortable, but because I trusted him, he went through to the side where the buses used to park just by Home Affairs. And then the next thing he says, he wants to show me something that I've never seen before. And at that moment, I'm still a virgin. Growing up in a home that prays, you want to keep your virginity because that is the most important thing. Any girl child.
Yeah.
You think about that. You want to keep it until you are married.
Yeah.
So that was my mind. That was my thought. That was my conclusion. I want to keep it. This is a gift that I'm going to give to my husband.
Yeah.
So now the guy, he says, we're getting into the car, we're sitting, and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable because now I can see that he's coming closer to me. And when he comes closer to me, he has...
Is this still in the car?
Still in the car. Something he doesn't usually do. Because even when you're speaking with a therapist or a psychologist, there's a distance that you need to keep.
Yeah.
It's not something, it's not a relationship that you need to comfort each other by hugging each other, but with words only.
Yeah.
So now he tells me I must open up my legs. And I'm like, what's going on? What are you doing? And the next thing he says, you need to obey or else you will die.
Sure.
At that moment, I've never seen a gun in my life. But then I could feel that whatever he was making me hold, it is a gun. So I thought of death. I'm like, no, I don't want to die. So what happened is I cannot really remember everything because for a moment I was numb. But what I remember after that, I could see blood clots on the skirt that I was wearing. And he didn't feel anything, like any regret after he did that. And I was just shocked. I couldn't move. I was just sitting there shaking so bad. And he just drove off with me and dropped me at my friend's place. And he gave me the pencil case. I remember I left my phone in his car. And he said something that he said it in Tsonga. Like it's...
You can say it in Tsonga.
Swananzia loko ukha utwa kubaba. It's like this is so nice because you were in pain. And that moment, all I wanted to do is to run away. I wanted to go home, but going home to who? Who do I tell at the moment? Because now my mother would not believe me. She would say, I told you, it's all about boys. And at that moment, I think maybe she thought it was all about boys because I was in a ballroom class. I was one of the ballroom dancers champions in the region. And I enjoyed sports. Yeah. So when I had to run away, the guy, he followed me because I had left my phone in the car. When he dropped me at my friend's place, and then I just took my books and left. I didn't study biology further because I just knew I was not going to concentrate.
And were your friends still there?
They were there, but they were shocked because they have never seen me in that state. Yeah. I just took my books and then I ran away. And when I took my books and ran away and went home, he followed me. And then I just, when you're pressing yourself against the fence because now this is somebody that has hurt you, you want to protect yourself. And he came and took the phone and he pressed it on my chest, like, take your phone. And then he just left. And then I just went home and I got inside my room. I closed my room. And that's when I cried, Daddy, he took my virginity. Because that is the only person I was close to. I was closer to my physical dad and I was closer to God. Yeah. So I said he took my virginity, but no one responded within the house. It was just me on my bed and I just had to sleep it off, wake up the next morning and then I go to school like life is normal.
And did you ever share with your family?
My family is actually finding out the whole story now.
Are you serious? So you went through all of that by yourself?
I was used to going through things by myself without anyone coming to assist me. My family only found family as my mother, everyone else around me, except for my brother, that I had to tell when the guy followed me in my tertiary in 2009. He followed me and he still wanted to do the same thing. But by that time, I had gained strength. Yeah. And I was still trying to recover. Yeah. So I ran away from Free State and I came to Pretoria and I told my cousin brother and my biological brother that this is what happened. I need you guys to protect me.
So he followed you all the way to the Free State?
Yes, he used to follow me wherever I go because I grew up being a public person. Whatever I was doing, everybody could see. So he followed me. I think he wanted to do it for the second time because he knew there was nobody that I could talk to. Yeah. And by then I was also going for therapy. Yeah. But I used to go with my friend, Miss Vilani. Yeah. I used to take her with me because I didn't trust anyone.
Yeah. Sure. How... Okay, we'll get to that part, but... How did you now navigate through tertiary, with this burden that you're not able to share with anybody? Did you ever open up, maybe find a friend or somebody that you can talk to? Because I'm assuming that for you to even go to see a psychologist was not an option anymore after your experience.
I did open up to a friend. Okay. And she used to go with me to my psychology classes because she's the one that suggested that go to and see a psychologist, and I explained to her I can't. And he's like, no, you have to. Yeah. And at that moment, I did speak to our cell leader, our home cell leader, and I told her, this happened to me. I need you to pray with me because at that time, I'm suffering from ulcers. Yeah. I've got heart palpitations. Yeah. Sometimes I just be standing and then I collapse because there's just a lot of things happening. My health was being affected. Yeah. So I did speak to a friend and she was helping me throughout, but then she had her own issues. I couldn't be a problem to her all the time. So I had to learn to deal with it like my own way. And I had to push through tertiary to say, I want to pass. I make something of myself in order to prove to those people that I can actually become a better person. And I was not after boys all this time.
Sure. So the second part in your book, you talk about broken engagement and you also talk about an abusive relationship, dating a cycle. So when did this happen? Was it when you were still in tertiary or later on in life?
The broken engagement, it's 2 engagements. Okay. I actually walked away from 2 engagements. Okay. The first one, I was in tertiary. Okay. Or I dated a guy that I met at church and everything was well until he would ask me about everything that everybody says about me. If he hears somebody says, Khanyisa did this, Khanyisa did that, he would come to me and always accuse me of those things. We'd have a fight today and then I wouldn't speak to him for like a month because he just thought I was out for the bed. And I couldn't even tell my mother about it because she still didn't believe in the whole dating thing at that moment. She wanted me to just finish my degree.
Yeah.
So I dated him and it just failed.
Okay.
Because towards my year where I had to complete, he was just giving me a lot of stress. And I said, you know what, this is it. I can't do it. And the second engagement is the abusive relationship where it was physically, emotionally, and financially. Yeah. This is a person that I just met at a shop, and he was much more of a calmer person compared to my personality because I'm more of a loud person and he's very calm. So it was fine from the start, going on vacations, introducing each other to parents, praying together. Everything was fine. Until now, he starts seeing that I'm more of a social person. I love people. I want to embrace them. I always welcome everybody at my house. Yeah. Then he wants to start doing the same things that I do at church. I joined the worship team. I'm a preacher myself. So he wants to do everything that I was doing. And then when he realizes that he cannot beat me or he cannot become above me, that's when he started suppressing me.
So he wanted to compete with you. Like whatever you do, if you're preaching, he also wants to be a preacher.
That's right. He wanted to compete with me because when I say I'm going somewhere to go and preach, he would want to come with me in order to see what I do. And then he goes to his church and preach about the very same sermon that I preached about at a home cell.
Wow.
So that's what he was doing. And all along he realized that when you are born again, there is something different about you, the kind of wisdom that you've got. Yeah. It cannot be compared to any other person. Yeah. And it's a gift that God gave me. So I cannot run out of what to say about God because remember, I saw God taking me through tertiary after I've been raped to a point of even getting to find a job and still being myself and still healing in that process. Yeah. He wanted everything that I had to a point that he even took my cards for the business I had, and he used the money for himself. Sure. And when I asked for the money, he says, well, I used it. You just have to accept it. And at that moment when I was dating him, it was the fact that when I look at myself, I'm saying, you know what? I'm old. I want to get married. You look
How
around.
old were you then?
I was 30.
Okay.
I look around and I'm like, listen, my friends are married.
Yeah.
I want to get married.
So you put the pressure on yourself.
I did put the pressure on myself because there will be a moment where you're even at church. I remember one of the mothers at church asked me something of which she said it in Tonga, and I'm going to express it the way she said it. She's like, Khanyisa ubupile uchatarin. That it means you're old enough now. You are ready for marriage. When are you getting married? And at that moment, I'm not even thinking about it. But you know, when everyone is getting married and your friends are being it's made looking good on that one and that, and they're like, but when are you getting married? Okay, at least if marriage fails, when are you getting a child? One of the ladies at church literally gave me a baby bottle and said, you keep this for when you have a child. Like she's saying, she's pushing for my marriage. And at that moment, when I look at the children, they're not married, but I didn't say anything. So that put pressure on me and say, you know what, let me just get married. And I would talk to my friends and say, you know what, this guy beats me up. This guy takes everything from me. This guy doesn't talk nicely to me. Even when I'm at the mall, if he sees me working in the environment that I'm in, there are a lot of men. Okay. So I can work with any man like at the mall.
So he was jealous of your relationship with other people?
He would find me anywhere. He literally bought me a camera that I love taking pictures with. And it was always in my car. Little did I know that in that camera, there's a tracking device.
What?
So he would find me. I'll just look around and there he is. And I'm like, my friends were like, your boyfriend is here. I'm like, oh, I didn't see him. And I'll be excited to see him, but not excited in the sense of being excited. I was scared of him because of the things that he would do behind closed doors.
So all of these things, the abuse that you went through, the financial abuse, you spoke about physical abuse as well. Was this happening before your engagement with him?
It happened before the engagement with him.
Okay, but then you still got engaged to him.
I still got engaged to him because in my mind, I'm saying I'm going to endure all this. It's going to change somehow, some way, and I'm going to get married. Okusalayo, people will never ask me, when are you getting married?
So why do you think as women we think things will change? We think, no, this is just him now before marriage. When we get into marriage, he's going to be a completely different person. And, why do you think people think like, or rather women think like that?
I think we've been raised by a generation that says you need to enjoy everything. You need to stay in marriage. You need to make it work no matter how hard it is. Because even when you go to the older people and ask them, how did you make it? They say, I stayed in my marriage no matter what happens. But they don't tell you what is the no matter. What is the no matter that you faced? Were they abused? What is the no matter in their life? Because they might say no matter what happened. It might be the husband not coming home for 6 months, but they were never physically abused. It might be the husband not giving them money for 3 months. They were never physically abused. For me, it was different because the guy would literally throw me to the wall. And I would just wake up the next morning in hospital, unconscious. And he would feel no remorse. He would throw me to the wall, leave my flat, and then go to his place. And then after that, he would even go to an extent of buying my mother a lot of things and gifting her a day after he's beaten me up. And then on a weekend, he takes me on a vacation.
Did you ever talk to your mom about the abuse?
No. I didn't talk to my mother about the abuse because I wanted to get married and I wanted to make her proud. I felt like that would close everything that has happened from not having a good relationship with her. Now I'm going to make her a proud mother because I'm getting married. Yes.
And it didn't matter who you were getting married to?
It didn't matter who I was getting married. He was showering my mother with gifts. He was doing everything for her, even though I was paying for it. Because when he does something for my mother, he would remind me, I did this for your mother, so you need to pay back. To a point that even there was a night where he beat me up and I felt like my breath was just coming out of my body. And I was like, the last thing I said, for the sake of my mother, I love my mother so much. Despite of everything that happened, I still feel she's my parent. She gave birth, she gave me life. So I looked at the fact that my mother has lost a daughter. For the sake of my mother, not to lose another daughter, God let me live. And when I woke up the next day, that is when I decided this is the end.
So this last straw was actually after you got engaged to him?
Yes, it was after I got engaged to him. And he was planning a wedding in November.
So you say he was planning a wedding?
He was, yes, said it right. He was planning.
Explain that.
He was doing the running around, everything. I just had to sit and he was calling the people.
Was it your choice to sit back and let him do all the work?
It was not my choice. He told me to sit back and let him do everything. Because if he knew I wasn't going to do it. At that time, he could see that I was fed up. But I just did not know how to get out with a ring on my finger, and now I need to take it. I took off the first ring.
First one, yeah.
Now I'm taking off the other one.
So maybe to take you a few steps back. So your first engagement, did you walk away from it?
I walked away from it.
Okay.
I walked away from it because I tried to make it work.
Yeah.
But it didn't work because at the end of the stage, when I decided this is it, I want to walk away from this engagement, is when I found out that he's busy pursuing a lady that I thought was his friend that would always meet with us. And sometimes when I have problems with him, I would talk to her. And then a few months after we've broken up, you give yourself space and say, okay, this is it. I don't want it anymore. But in the back of your mind, you want it to work. You want to go back and say, you know what, maybe it might work out. And then 3 months later, can't remember, was it 3 months or 6 months? Yeah. He got married to that lady. Yes. He got married to that lady. So the first one, I walked away from it. But the second one, I told myself I'm staying in it no matter what.
So what was the last straw for you with the second engagement?
That's when he beat me up and threw me to the wall. Yeah. And to a point that I even have an ear infection even today. Sometimes my ear just gets sore. Yeah. And my doctor is the one that said, if you do not report this guy or walk away from this relationship, then I'm not going to treat you.
Did you ever report him to the police?
I went to the police. The first time I went to report it is with the first beating. Yeah. And because I had some other incident where some people broke my car before and stole some things, and then I would get the case number maybe over the night because they said that they have to text it to you.
Yeah.
I was used to that, to say, okay, fine, you open a case, you go home, you get a case number. I went to the police station and I reported for the beating, and I never got a case number. And when I went back to say, but I reported, and they say they never saw me. So the other incidents, I told myself, where am I going? And he would tell me straight, no matter what you do, I will never get arrested. So somehow he knew that whatever I may try, he's not going to get in trouble. He will never get arrested. So I just gave up on that. And I said, you know what, let me run away and go stay somewhere else where he doesn't know where I stay. And then I can continue with my life.
So when you finally walked away, did he let you go freely, or
No.
it was a struggle?
It was a serious struggle, because now when I discovered that he had a tracking device in the camera, I remember my friends and I took it out and we put it next to a tree.
Yeah.
And then we drove back and came back to Polokwane because we're in Mpumalanga.
Yeah.
So now when he called me, he's like, when are you coming back? And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, when are you coming back? Because you've been in the same place for a long time. It's because that tracking device has been out and it's been just planted by the tree.
How did you realize that there's actually a tracking device in there?
It kept on beeping. There was this light inside the camera that was just unusual.
Yeah.
The camera was dead, but then there was this light. So my friend is like, what is going on with the camera? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's open it up. Plus, okay, because I did IT technician. So we did the unscrewing of the camera, and then we're like, this doesn't belong in a camera. What is this? And she's like, it's a tracking device. So we took a sellotape and then we just put it around the tree and we left it there, and we came back to Polokwane. And 2 days after, that's when he called. It's like, when are you coming back? And I wasn't there. I was in Polokwane. That's when I realized that this guy is a psycho and he's going to kill me.
So that was you going to Polokwane was then the end of your relationship with him?
It wasn't really the end, because the beating hadn't happened yet. The beating happened after Mpumalanga.
Oh, okay.
And then,
so you still went back?
Yeah, he still came. He would find me. No matter, even at my workplace, they knew him because he would come and park in front of the office for 5 hours. And then when I knock off, he would follow me, making sure that I go into the house. And at that moment, no matter how late it is, I would still have to cook for him, make sure that he's well fed. And then he would decide whether he wants to stay the whole night and leave early in the morning, or he wants to go to his place.
So when you finally ended the relationship, because I mean, obviously there's family that's involved in there, you know, even with the first engagement, there's family that's involved, and, you know, families must sit, and there's also people around you. How did you deal with what people will say, you know, because as people, we have that syndrome, what will people say? You know, this is like your second engagement where you're not scared of, you know, judgment from people.
At that point, I wasn't anymore. I was fed up.
Yeah.
I had had enough, because it went to a point where I went for self-defense classes in order to protect myself.
Sure.
I just knew that this guy is going to kill me if I do not go ahead and protect myself. I did fight him back. Okay. There's a moment where he lashed out at me to a point where I felt like I am boiling, and I went and I fought back. And I think that is the last time I said, this is it, I'm walking away, because that anger and the bitterness and everything that I was holding back came out that night where I fought back and I say, I'm walking away. Though he made it difficult, but I told myself, come what may, this time I'm walking away from you, and you're not going to do anything, because we're in the same city. And I had to move overnight from the flat I stayed in. Packed everything out, moved to another place where it was more secured, because it was affecting me at work. Academically, I had to stop studying at that moment because I was not focused. And at the same time, I was even diagnosed depressed. So I was dealing with a lot of things. I thought, this is it. This guy has to go. I don't care who's going to say what. This is my life. I need a turning point.
Yeah. You know, I was going to ask you that, I mean, from a horrible childhood where you have no relationship, or rather no good relationship with your mother and your sister, to being raped by your psychologist, to getting engaged for the first time, getting engaged for the second time, where are you emotionally with all of this? And I'm assuming that this is all happening in a couple of years. Like,
yes.
You know, where are you emotionally?
Emotionally, I was wrecked. I did not believe that love exist because I hadn't experienced any.
Yeah.
I did not even believe in marriage at all. I didn't want to get married. I didn't even want to look at a guy.
Yeah.
I just felt like guys it going to a point of even hating my own brothers. I wouldn't look at them. I would pretend to love them, but inside, when I look at them, there was that bitterness that, you know what, somebody of your species is doing something bad to me, and nobody can protect me, because as much as I could tell my mother this, she would just say, you know, you like this and that. We told you, stop this ballroom dancing because it brings a lot of boys towards you. Stop this public speaking because I didn't have support. So emotionally, I was wrecked. I did not have anyone to support me, and there was no one to run to. So emotionally,
so
there was nothing going.
I mean, you grew up in a family where your dad is there, your mother is there. There's a marriage that's happening, and I mean, for many of us who would then think, no, but love does exist because we've got our mother and fathers who are staying together. So you also had the same background where your mom and dad are still staying together, but still you brushed off, or rather you crushed away the idea of still getting married and being in a happy relationship.
I did, because I just thought it's for them. It is not for me.
Yeah.
I tried, and there were other relationships in between though, but I felt like I tried enough and it was not working for me. So I'm like, it's fine. Let me not just go through it. Maybe my mother is right. I'm just a troublesome child. I always make trouble wherever I go. So let me rather leave it. And whoever wants to get married will get married. But as for me, marriage, no. I'm not trying it again. Yes.
And do you still believe that?
No. I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't believe in that. I think because of the journey that I walked through, the ending part of it makes me change my mind about marriage. Because at the end, I come out a different person. I come out stronger. I come out restored. And I believe that if for God to actually show off himself, he had to lay a platform where I had to walk through the veil of the shadow of death, like the Bible says, and fear no evil. And where he says in Habakkuk 1 verse 5, where he says, brace yourself for a storm, because I'm about to do a new thing in your life. Something massive that even if I have to tell you, you would not believe it. So at that moment, yes, I didn't believe in marriage. But now when I look back and I said, God, who was going to be restored if I didn't go through the same platform? I needed to go through it in order to talk about it. I needed to be tested in order for those that comes after me to trust me that actually you can go through the veil of the shadow of death and come out just looking like nothing has happened and no scars.
You don't look like your scars.
I will never look like my scars. I can only testify about them. But then my scars, I think my scars are beautiful.
And in your book, you also talk about the death of your father and your only sister.
Yes. The only sister that I didn't have a good relationship with.
Yeah. Take us through that.
The death of my father is still an emotional thing to me, because he's the only person that I've always been close to.
Yeah.
My sister, when she passed on, it is the time that I was fixing my relationship with her.
Okay.
And my sister passed away because she was depressed. She was not a person that was outspoken like me.
Yeah.
Although I was quiet at first and I didn't speak about my experiences, I came out and spoke about them.
Yeah.
So my sister had so many things within her, of which until today, I do not know whether I was part of it.
Sure.
She passed away when I was looking at her, and healing for like that moment still doesn't go away from my mind, because that is the only sister that I wanted to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
See, my father passed away in 2013 because of diabetes.
Yeah.
Then my sister passed away in 2014, December.
So a year after.
It's a year after. When we're still recovering after my father's passing, my sister comes home for like 14 days and she's sick and I don't understand what's going on. And throughout the whole year, I've been talking to her. We've been planning my mother's birthday, but we had to stop in December. My mother's born on the 25th of December. We had to stop because my sister is sick. So now I had to take over. She's got 2 sons. Yeah. I had to take over taking care of them and everything, and even cleaning up her own space where she lived in, because the husband wasn't there. He was still in Johannesburg.
So she was married.
She was married. So I have to take care of my sister. And mind you, the other people are talking that, but they never had a good relationship because it was not something that was hidden. Yeah. Everybody could see.
Yeah.
The time that I think now this is all right, then she passes on. I could not cope. I will not lie to you. I could not cope because I'm trying to mend things and things are just coming off, like things are becoming broken. I could not hold back. I cried, I got sick that weekend. Yeah. My father's death, I felt like he lived his life. But as for my sister, I felt like that was a moment for her and I to build what we have lost all these years. Yeah. So the death of my sister and my father is still something that I have accepted that they are gone. But every time it comes to my mind, I cry about it because I feel robbed of the only sister that was only embracing me at the last stages of her life. But somehow, some way, I feel there's the happiness inside of me that says, towards the end, we managed to mend our hearts and we became the sisters that we're supposed to be. I don't know whether I'm looking at the positive side of it, but that's how I feel. Yeah. Towards the end, she died a happy sister. We were good siblings. We used to sing. We were both in the worship team. Yeah. When we're in front of people, you couldn't see that we're not getting along. Mm. But then when we go home, we could spend weeks without talking to each other and I wouldn't know why. Even when she was married, I'd try reaching out. I'd try calling. Sometimes she would tell me that you are just too much. And I believe, yes, I am too much because even when I see that you're going through something, I'm going to be up in your face until I get you to a point where you are restored. Yeah. That's how I am. So I believe I was too much. But she passed on at the last stages where I thought this is just the beginning of our good relationship and there's nothing else that I can do. I just have to accept and let go.
And if you were given a moment with her, just one last moment, what would you say to her?
I wouldn't say much to her. The only thing that I would want to do is to just hug her. Because if there's one thing that I've never received from my sister, was a hug. There's never a time I remember where she held me in her arms and throughout all this brokenness that I've been in, she has never said, it's okay. Maybe she defended me in front of other people, but in my face, she has never. So it was just like maybe 2 seconds of just her embracing her is enough for me. That is the only thing that I would want from my sister. And after that, I can let her go. And I think it's the way I love her children. I'm trying to regain that. I'm trying to close it up to say, at least now I love your children. At least I've put them closer to me. At least they see me as their mother. I will heal. But if I was given a moment, I wouldn't say much. I believe she knows I'm a person that likes embracing. I'll just hug her 2 seconds, 3 seconds and let her go. Just to show off that, you know what, you're my sister. And despite everything that has happened, I love you and I forgive you.
Broken and depressed, and I'm assuming that all of this comes from everything that you've been through. Like, Khanya, I look at you now and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and I don't know how you've made it this far and still be the positive woman that you are, who is more concerned about helping other people. Like, how did you get to this point? How did you forgive? How did you let go?
When it comes to broken and depressed is when I admitted that I was broken. And I was diagnosed depressed, not even once. And I had to go through the treatment. Yeah. There's a lady who's a doctor who happens to be my boss wife that saw that I was struggling a lot. And she said, you know what, you need to go and see a psychologist. Remember my story about psychologists.
How did you feel about that?
At that moment, I told myself, if I go this one last time and I die, I would have tried. I talked to a friend of mine that went through a similar thing, but she referred me to a psychologist and I went, but I felt I'm not ready. I don't want to go. There's that reluctant when you're like, I can take this on my own. Yeah. And I went to see a psychologist and my psychologist took my matters personal. I'm getting to the point, how did I recover? How did I get to? Yeah. Because somebody took my matter personal. Sure. She took it personal that she even went out of her own ways, even meeting me on Saturdays when even the funds had run out from the medical aid and still met up with me and made sure that you're going to take this step. Sure. She took my matter personal to a point that I had wished my own had taken it personal and saw that I'm crying out for help, not for attention. Sure. She made sure that I healed completely with prayer, things that I can't. Psychologists are not supposed to do. They're not supposed to engage with you after office hours. They're supposed to only engage with you only during the sessions. But she took my matters personal to a point that even on Saturdays and Sundays, she would wake me up on Sunday and say, you are going to church, you like it or not. Because at that moment, there was a moment I didn't believe prayer works. Because I'm praying, I'm like, God, I want this. And the next thing something happens. I'm like, but God, I want this. That you are tithing, you are giving, you're giving yourself to the community, helping younger girls, preaching and talking the word of God. And they believe you. But when you go back indoors, you are crying your heart out. The pillows can tell a lot about your life. So she took my matters personal to a point I realized that this is God now taking my matters personal. Yeah. And he's not going to come down. Yeah. He's going to use this lady as much as he's using me as a vessel. Yeah. That one day I need to restore someone. When you say, you know what, Khanyi, I've been in a marriage for so many years and I've been physically beaten, I'll say, I know. When you say I've been in a relationship and this guy doesn't treat me well, I'll say I know you will heal. When you say I'm trying to mend a relationship with my mother who doesn't understand me, she calls me names, I'll tell you, darling, I know. I've been there. It is much easier for me to tell you that I've been there and you're gonna heal if I went through it. If I haven't went through it and I come and tell you, I'm like, you know what? According to my research, yes, according to your research, yes, it makes sense. Yeah. But have you walked the shoes I walked in? If you haven't walked the shoes I walked in, I don't want to speak to you. But if you have walked the shoes I walked in, come closer. Tell me how you made it. When I decided to write a book, it's because I realized I cannot reach everyone at the same time. Yeah. But I'm going to reach some people that are far from me through reading a book. And since I've written it and it's out, I've been reaching a lot of people that I've never met that are calling me and say, you know what? I
also met you through the book.
Through the book. And I went through the same thing. Khanya, I've been raped twice. This has been happening. And I'm like, you know what? When you look at me right now, do I show any sign of a person that has been a victim before? And you say no. And I'm like, that's how I look at you. I do not look at you through the eyes of what you're going through. I look at you through the eyes of the Father, because the Father saw a restorer from the beginning. That's why he made sure that I walk through the journey till the very end, where he says, this is it. You are fully restored. I have forgiven everyone. And now I can be able to embrace other people, because if I'm still bitter, I will not be able to embrace you when you're broken. My hands are not going to be warm. But if I have forgiven everyone, I'm affirming, I understand. And one thing for sure, I am patient even when you are slow.
Khanyisa. So your depression, how? Like, I want you to just give us maybe in a nutshell, like steps that you had to follow in order for you to, because I'm assuming that you are no longer diagnosed depressed.
No.
So just take, for somebody who's maybe in that state of depression, how do they come out of it?
At first, you need to accept.
Okay.
And accepting doesn't mean that you are weak. You're accepting that I'm wounded, I need healing. It's a state of mind where you just think the worst about yourself. You don't see anything good happening. And it's like it just shuts down. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll be working, you collapse. Sometimes you eat, That's the level of depression that I was in. I would eat and the food would come out.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll be in the middle of people and then I just start screaming. It's like it's a point of insanity.
Yeah.
You are no longer normal.
Yeah.
Even at your workplace, you are behind. You start becoming slow. You need to drink your medication in order to sleep.
Did you ever realize that you were depressed before you actually sat down with your psychologist? Or
No.
Okay.
If somebody was to tell me that I'm depressed, I would actually be very violent. I would defend myself. I'm not depressed. I look depressed. And at that moment, a friend of mine who was depressed and got out of it understood why I was acting like that, because I was defending myself.
Yeah.
But when my psychologist explained to me that you are not sick, it's just that you've been through a lot. It's like an iceberg that has got layers. Okay. There's been something, the root of it. It's coming up and you're busy bottling things inside. What we see is just a small portion. If you remember the movie Titanic, what actually hit the ship to break was the iceberg underneath. The bitterness that I had was the iceberg underneath. Everything, the layers, the rejection that I was experiencing, the broken engagement, all those things, the rape, it was underneath. And I was busy piling up with a smile, being the preacher, said, okay, fine, everything is all right. And I still believed in God. But there was a moment where I say, I didn't believe in prayer anymore. I didn't pray. I just slept and I woke up the next morning. It's a brand new day. But when I went to the psychologist, she restored everything.
Yeah.
She
God used her to
restore. Like she had to put back everything that I thought I had lost.
Yeah.
Self-esteem, I never used, like I stopped even going to ballroom classes. All I did was go to the gym. I stopped even meeting new people. I had lost hope. But she just put everything together. And at that moment, to her, she was possibly doing her duty. She was doing what she was called for. But to me, I saw God working through her in order to restore me. So the stages of depression, they start from small things and then it just goes up and goes up and gets to a point where you just burst. It's like a volcano. It doesn't start today. It has been boiling throughout. And the day it erupts, it has so many things. It's going to destroy a lot. Because I was also like a whirlwind. Wherever I go, whatever I say to people, I don't even care. I would hurt people with my words because I was hurt. But since I met the psychologist, blessed be that woman, she restored me, made me her own child. And until to a point where I say, you know what? This is it. It's time for forgiveness. I can only reflect at what happened, but doesn't hurt like it used to.
So how did you forgive? Did you have to talk to the people, to your perpetrators, or was it like a self, I forgive them? Because, I do that myself. If something has gone wrong, like I keep repeating to myself, I forgive her, or I forgive myself. Like, what did you have to do in order for you to let it go?
I had to get to an understanding that forgiveness is not for the next person, it's for myself.
Yeah.
Forgiveness on its own, when you are bitter, it's like you eating hot stuff and thinking they are burning the next, but they are burning you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like you're eating poison. And you thought it's busy damaging the other person's tummy, yet it's damaging you. I realized I was sick. I was diagnosed with ulcers, of which I had to heal in 2018 after I decided I'm forgiving. And it had to happen through that, because I looked at the situations and I'm like, this was not anyone's fault. If God wanted me to get to a point of restoration, he needed people to do this to me. And they couldn't recognize that they're doing something. They're actually taking me to my destiny. I looked at my story as the story of Joseph that was thrown into the pit, yet they were actually elevating him to where God wanted him to be. So I had to forgive myself first for allowing myself to sit and brood on bitterness for so many years. Yet I could have just easily let go of things. I forgive people for not even asking for forgiveness, because until today, no one has ever.
Not even your mother as well.
My mother, I feel like it's just this whole traditional thing that parents will never look at you and say, you know what, I'm sorry for what happened.
Yeah.
But through the actions,
You can see that she's
I can see that she wants to say, I'm sorry for what happened. I did not know.
Yeah.
Somehow, somewhere, I feel like inside of her every day, because the first day when I released my book, I actually drove home and I gave her the book and I left. And I said, you're going to read it. That was my point of saying, now I want to tell you the truth. Because all this time I tried, but you did not believe me. So this is out and now the whole world knows. Whoever is going to feel like she should have hidden it, it's their fault. I'm free. I'm restored. I'm ready for the next chapter. I need to embrace those that come after me and say, you know what? I can also restore you through God helping me restore you. So I had to forgive everyone, though nobody came to me and said they are sorry, which I understand.
Yeah.
I had to forgive them for myself and my peace. Yes.
Yeah. And how is your relationship now with your mother?
It's very good.
Okay.
My relationship with my mother is very good. We talk on a daily basis. We are more closer than we were. And it's very nice because I can be able to talk to her about anything. When I pick up the phone, sometimes when she feels like she's not feeling well, because I like making a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
She calls and she says, you know what, I just felt like I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
My late dad used to do the same thing. He'll say, you know what, I just want to talk to you. And I'll just start laughing. I have this other weird laughter that I just share with everyone.
Yeah.
And then I'll just crack and my mother just cracks and she says, you know what, my heart is okay.
That's beautiful.
So that's how my mother and I are at the moment.
Yeah.
And with the rest of the family, we are okay.
You're good.
Yes, we're fine.
Good. So, I mean, you are this restored person now. You are happy. You're living your life. You're pursuing God's calling over your life. What are you doing? I know you've got the 2 organizations that you spoke about when we started off. So tell us more about that.
Women You More Than Enough is like bringing young girls together and to teach them and also to train them not to think in the eyes of a man.
Yeah.
Not to look at a man and say, you know what, until I get to a point of where I'm married, that's when I can start building my destiny or start building my purpose. Women You More Than Enough, that is what it deals with. Then Queens.org. Queens.org, it's where we put back your crown.
Yeah.
Where you lost it, because there are a lot of things that happen in life that you can't even tell your parents about them. We restore. We put back your crown. If it's not out, like we don't put back your crown, we fix it.
Okay.
We just put it back in order.
Yeah.
We tell you the things that you need to do. Yeah. We train you in a way that you should live, not depending on what the society says, but depending on what God says about you. Because when I read Jeremiah 29 verse 11, it says, I alone know the plans that I have for you. Yeah. So we teach you in those ways. So you know what? This can be happening. But at the end of the day, the reason you're still alive is because God knows the plans that He has for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but to show you a hopeful future.
Amen. You're doing a great job and well done to you.
You're doing a great job too.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job too. Because your organization speaks a lot about you are not alone. When I saw it on the internet, I'm like, okay, indeed, I'm not alone. Because someone out there, when I'm doing the restoration part, she's doing the you're not alone the part. Because those two parts, they match, they work together. When I'm busy restore, you're saying still you're not alone. And then somebody comes and say, you know what, let me fix you a bit. You need this and that. So we'll put all these things together and then they work out for the good for who? For us that are called according to His purpose.
Amen. I believe that, everything that we go through, the Word of God says all things work together for good to them that love the Lord. When it's still happening, we don't get it. We don't understand why we have to go through it. But I believe that God has allowed it, not just for ourselves, but for many other young women, that are coming after us. And you wrote a beautiful book, which I'm still yet to read. Tell us more about the book.
The book is all about everything that I've spoken about.
Okay, so it's your story in here.
It's my story. It's based on a true story. I couldn't write everything in it, of which I wrote the second one, but I'm waiting for this to just go through. Everyone must read it, and then I'll come out with the next one where I go in depth of how I dealt with depression. And I said I dealt with it through prayer and through psychology, but there are a lot of layers that I left. So it's a guideline to a young girl where you're going to be dealing with depression and how do you deal with rejection and how do you actually restore yourself without anyone supporting you in your surrounding. Yes.
And where can people get this book from?
The book is, you can get it from Zesh.
Okay.
There's a guy called Zesh, my publisher. Hello, Zesh. Zesh is my publisher.
Yeah.
It's an online book. You can just click on the link. I'll give you the link.
Yeah.
And then you can get it from me personally. You can just call me on my number or Facebook, Kanye Johnson, Instagram, Kanye.Johnson.
Okay.
So you can get me there and then I'll courier the book to you.
Okay.
That's where you can get the book for now. And then I'm just still working on it. You can get it. Soon you get it from the stores.
Okay, Kanye, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on and, sharing your story. I believe this will change a lot of people, to touch a lot of lives, to restore also, people that are also going through depression and just going through a whole lot in their lives. So thank you so much for accepting the call of God over your life and not keeping quiet about what God has done in your life. So may God richly, richly bless you. Bless your organizations as well.
Thank you so much.
Grow to greater heights, reach nations, So yeah, we're really blessed to have you here.
I'm blessed to be here and thank you so much for having me again. I wish you just prosper in every way. I wish open doors for your organization. May we meet again when we speak to other women, not just the two of us, but then other women when we're busy building and reminding them that they are not alone. God is there by their side at always.
Oh yes. So what do you say? Like, I'm so blessed. I'm so emotional right now, but wow. Look at her today, still standing, still going forward, still pressing on. And if you are also watching this and you're going through a lot in your life, you're depressed and you're thinking there's no way out of this, we are saying to you, you are not alone. You are not alone. We have been through it and you can also go through it and you will make it through it. You're not there to stay, but God is also there. Depend on God. Like she said, she had to find a psychologist to help her through it. She had to pray also. So I'm saying to you that you are not alone. Please share this video with whoever is going through a lot in their lives, because we want many lives to be saved. So stay tuned and we will see you